Hi, everyone. Thank you. My name is Maria Gutzeit, and I'm running for City Council this April 8th. I'd like to ask for your vote, and before I forget, I want to mention my website is electmaria.com, and that has a lot of information on it about how you can follow the campaign and more about my background than I'll get out tonight. I've been with Newhall County Water District since 2003. And I serve a lot of people here in Canyon Country. In the Pine Tree area is one of our big districts. I started out my career as a Fortune 500 environmental engineer for 2 companies in Southern California. And in 94, 95, I started my own consulting business, and I do consulting to industry on environmental compliance, helping keep them in compliance and helping keep jobs in California. My degree is in chemical engineering. I grew up in the Midwest and attended University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana. My husband also owns his own business. He has a business in Center Point doing car repair. And we also have a small 4-year-old daughter. She's 4 now. And we also have 2 elderly parents that we care for. I want to say the main reason I'm running is because of concerns for the middle class. I mentioned we both own our own business. We see a lot of families struggling, families actually working very hard and still struggling. And I think we need to do something about that locally and in the state so that we don't lose good middle-class jobs. We seem to have a lot of, fancy Silicon Valley jobs and a lot of low-wage jobs, low-income jobs. We seem to be losing the middle. A lot of my clients are going out of state or out of the country, and I'd like to do something about that. I've always said I believe we can have a balance between business and the environment. I also think we need to have a balance between good jobs and the other issues that we want. We seem to always want a nice community, but we don't welcome business into our community, and I think we need to do that a little differently here. One thing I'm most proud of is in 10 years with the Newhall County Water District, our board and myself have not forgotten that the money that an agency spends is really the public's money. It's not government money, it's not magic money, it's really coming out of your pockets, it's coming out of our pockets as we live here. So I welcome your questions, and again, my website is electmaria.com, and you can learn more there. Thank you.
Okay, questions?
This again is from Sandra Cattell, the Sierra Club. What do you see as the most important issues, environmental issues, confronting our community?
Thank you. I would agree with the prior candidates that Whitaker-Burmite is a big issue. I'm happy to report that that is being cleaned up and fully funded by the insurers for the polluters. So the water districts have been involved in that cleanup, and we're a lucky community in that we've got somebody to pay for it besides us. What I'd like to see done with that site is have it be a manufacturing base and get some roads through there to help out people. CMAX is another big one, of course, that affects this area, and I think it's kind of been badly handled so far. I'd like to see that be resolved instead of the ongoing cost and legal battles. And, again, coming from a water district, of course, my favorite issue is water. We are in a record drought. One thing that I'd like to see done is if we're forced to do this chloride recycling scam, I would like to see that water recycled for the benefit of Santa Clarita, such as spread in our riverbed, so we have a green belt in the river and it recharges our groundwater wells rather than giving it away to the downstream people. We shouldn't be giving any water away in this drought time.
I was going to ask about the drought. California is in a severe weather pattern right now that we're not getting the rain that we need. The Sierras is not having snow, the levels that we need to fund our water. And I think that we probably need to implement some sort of voluntary, structured water preservation measures here. What can we do as citizens, and what can the City Council do as a leader in that area?
Right. And I agree, a lot of people are asking the city to do something. They've historically been very hands-off, and I think people are getting very confused as we get mixed messages. All parts of Southern California have different water resources. We actually have a balance of state water and groundwater. We're luckier than most. But some things that we can do are, again, I mentioned the groundwater recharge, not put our water downstream, but recharge it here. That's water reuse would be an important thing. I do think we need to support the State Water Project, and I know some people are opposed to that, but Southern California would not be here as it is today without the State Water Project. And constructing improvements to that will help us buffer against dry seasons. There's going to be rainy seasons again. So if we have reservoirs, if we have conveyance facilities that protect the environment and get that water down here in the safest way possible, that's good for the economy, that's good for jobs. There's a lot of good construction work that can be done, and we've punted that issue for far too long. When I got on the Water District Board 10 years ago, they said they've been talking about it for 30 years. So we need those improvements to get us some more security on water.
Mark Archuleta, Canyon Country. Where do you stand on the Voter Rights Act, and should the city be spending any money fighting it?
Right. I am on record as saying I don't think the city should fight that. I think, at least from what I've heard, and I am very grateful that the Water District was not sued, so I haven't delved into this to the extent that some have. But I understand that it's very difficult to win those cases, and I would hate to have an election and then have it have to redo it, as Palmdale currently does. So I'd like to see the city come up with a settlement that is satisfactory, take it out of the court, save some money. I don't know if anybody's going to ask about the districts or mayor. If it does, I can talk in more detail on that. But I'm not a huge fan of that if it's not done correctly, because I think you can have some vote rigging, as you see with the county supervisors. If one supervisor, wants to look good for his district, the other ones can vote against it. And he go, "Well, I voted for you," and these still things that are a benefit to the community get shot down. So I don't know that districts are perfect, but I think it may be inevitable.
Gina Johnson from Canyon Country. You mentioned right at the top about closing the gap between the high-paid and low-paid. Mm-hmm. What are your ideas about bringing in the middle employment range for people?
Right. Well, a couple things. I already mentioned that I think we need some true manufacturing zoning. Traditionally, manufacturing is higher wage jobs. What we have in the industrial center is a lot of minimum wage assembly type jobs. There's some higher paid jobs there too, but we need a zone that allows true manufacturing. California likes to think of it as itself as green, but you could never permit a solar panel plant or a battery plant within the city's existing zones. It would be extremely difficult. So if we want those jobs, if we want film support jobs, lighting fixture manufacturing, recycling, you can't do that here right now. So we're kind of talking out of both sides of our mouth. The other thing I'd like to do is reduce some of the fees on businesses. Currently, tenants moving into existing buildings pay exorbitant and I think unjustified water and sewer fees. The City Council sits on and has the majority on the Sanitation District Board. And I actually have submitted a letter documenting that those fees are arbitrary and actually may be illegal. So we need to reduce the fees on businesses moving into existing structures, and our City Council absolutely has the power to do that, and they should, so that we can stimulate the economy and get the jobs moving.
Hi, Lori Rivas, Newhall. Do you think that our city is well served by a library board of trustees that's devoid of librarians? And how do you propose, or are you qualified, to provide the leadership, vision, and checks and balances to the corporate proposals of LSSI, the business contracted to manage our library system? Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good question. I was reading online because I know this is a hot topic for a lot of people, and I understand that other cities do have library boards that are more diverse and are not run by the city council. I think that's something that we should consider. Another thing that I would like to see us do is look at if we're truly getting the value that we were promised with that contract. I mean, I'm all about value, but some of the concerns that I've seen is inability to get books compared to the county library system has a much more extensive database. I see a lot of vacant shelves. I don't know what's happening. I see a lot of books that they're missing the little tags. So when you know, who knows if somebody isn't honest and just wanted to walk out with the untagged books, maybe that's the cause why, like, all the magazine racks are completely empty. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I don't think that the city council should sit back and just say, look, everybody loves the library. I think we need to, you know, follow up on the promises that were made with a city-run library. Are we really getting the services that were said? And I'm absolutely willing to change it if we are not getting the services that we need. And I also am absolutely willing to have a more diverse board that has educational experience, business experience, you know, direct library experience. We need a more diverse board, I think.
Okay.
Sure, Gilmore. You're very well aware that we have water issues locally, and yet we are putting in housing development after housing development after housing development, as though things were going to suddenly and magically change in the other direction in the near future.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, as I said earlier, you know, it's kind of interesting because we're not, and we never have been in a permanent drought. We may have very long-term droughts, 3 or 4 years, that are quite extensive and that we need to be prepared for. But on the other hand, we need to take this opportunity during the drought to build the infrastructure that's going to keep us strong going forward. I don't think that we can just stop development when it's dry, and then if development is truly about water only, then you would think they could build extra when it's a rainy season. We do water supply assessments at the agencies that look at short-term and long-term water availability. The growth controlling aspect of a development is a city council or a board of supervisors issue. So they take water into consideration when they approve the projects, and they rely on the water agencies to do water supply assessments that talk about how much water is available in the short term and in the long term. Another thing that we can do is do zero water use developments. Our district has proposed that, where they do offsets against existing water uses, such as turf fields or existing homes. They would put money into that to reduce their water use, so we're having no net water demand increase.
Brian Springer, King Country. The red light camera contract is coming up for renewal. What are your thoughts on the red light cameras, their effectiveness, and the possibility of getting rid of them?
I have mixed feelings about red light cameras. I think there has been an increased awareness that, you know, people need to stop at the lights that have cameras. I don't think that gets people to stop at the lights that don't have cameras. And I've seen a lot of cars driving through intersections without stopping. I'm a cyclist, so this is particularly important to me. Of course, people in cars get injured in accidents, but cyclists also take it seriously when a car runs a light and hits them when they're running a light against the signal. Let's see what I would be open to looking into the issue, making sure that they're timed fairly, that there's not a gotcha situation going on. I'm not necessarily opposed to having the cameras because I think, you know, it's a safety issue, but there shouldn't be any gotchas built in, and they should be mostly at the high flow intersections.
Good evening. As I understand it, the Newhall Water District right now, which is a retailer, is suing the Castaic Lake Water Agency over the takeover of the Valencia Water Company. What is the wisdom behind a retailer suing its wholesaler, and what interest do we as the residents of the Santa Clarita Valley have in you suing the CCAC Lake Water Agency to block the takeover of the Valencia Water Agency?
Okay. Well, again, I'll say, of course, I'm the only candidate that's going to get that question. And my general philosophy for the City Council is that we should always serve to defend the law, but I've been told by many lawyers that, principle is, often overrated when you have to deal in dollars. So the reason that Newhall Water is suing CCAC Lake Water Agency is that purchase was outside the bounds of a line that was drawn and agreed to by our agency. This is AB 134. We agreed to that in a legislative act, and they crossed the boundary. They were not to retail outside that boundary. They broke the deal. I don't know if we should sit back and take that. The other reason that we're not willing to sit back and take that is because there's a conflict of interest between a wholesale agency and a retail agency. As a groundwater agency, we're able to supply groundwater at a much lower price than wholesale water comes in. When you have a state water contractor that actually has done a good job purchasing water, they want to sell that water. And if nobody wants it or they can get something else cheaper, they kind of try to force it down your throat. So I think it's a benefit to the valley to have wholesale and retail separation. And I think as a council member, I would always weigh the principle versus the gain for the public on issues.
Good evening. My name is Jim Solis. I've been a Santa Clarita, actually Saugus, resident for 33 years. And I'm a co-signer, co-plaintiff in the California Voters' Rights Act, suit against the city. I'm a little confused, but not much, about your answer, because I've heard you respond to this in the past, and it left me with some concerns. Would you please clarify again? You seem to be saying that, yes, you're for district, even though you don't necessarily like it. Is that based upon the notion of a changing population, or is it based upon strictly financial regards? You would be one of 3 now potential candidates for the City Council, and I think that's great if you are one of the 3. Are you? That would be Mr. Daniels, Mr. Ferdman. Thank you. Okay.
So thank you for the question. And to clarify a little bit more my stance on the Voting Rights Act, I absolutely think that all of our council members and myself also have lived in many areas of the community, have walked in many of the areas of the community, have lived here a long time, and can balance the interests of Valencia, Canyon Country, Saugus, Newhall. I actually live in Newhall, and have a great understanding of that area, but I've walked the streets for campaigns in every part of the city, and I don't feel like I would ever intentionally neglect them. I mentioned my concerns with districts, with the council members voting against each other, and nothing. I want to see business be done. Another concern with districts that I would have is that they're done properly. You mentioned rights of people. I understand that some communities intentionally gerrymander their districts, and if we end up with gerrymandered districts, that's not going to help people. So I think it needs to be done carefully, and if it's a settlement situation, they should look at all the areas, do proper districts, if that's going to help settle the issue. I don't think the city should spend millions and millions of dollars fighting this, because Palmdale lost it quickly, and they lost it big time. The people that won that election had to run again in less than 9 months. That's an expense to the city and a disservice to the community. I think we should resolve it.
Hi, Carol Sherwood again. I have a question. Would you be interested or in favor of changing the charter in electing mayor and council, and not just rotating the mayor among the council members? Because it almost sounds like if you wait your turn, you'll become mayor. It doesn't sound good.
well, and again, I'll be the contrarian on that one, too. My concern with the mayor's situation, again, I read the LA Times all the time, so I know how this can go bad. You look at what happened with Mayor Villaraigosa and the Los Angeles City Council. They can completely disagree with each other. The mayor can go, I'm going to do this, and if they don't have the support of the City Council, it's not going to go forward, whatever it is that they want. A mayor that has an agenda, if they don't have the support of the council, they're out of luck. It's not like the mayor can outvote the council. So I think there's a false sense of efficiency with a mayor. With an elected mayor, as with a rotating mayor, you can end up, frankly, with a goofball in office that you don't want. So, I mean, look at what just happened with San Diego. I mean, that was a big scandal. They had a big, settlement agreement that they had to do, and it was a disruption to the city. So, I'm not sold on mayor. The other thing I would say about the mayor concept is you will have the top candidates running for mayor, and you will have second-tier people running for city council. That's the way it'll fall. So, honestly, I think we have a good balance now. I think this may end up being solved as part of the Voting Rights Act lawsuit because they're going to have to come up with a plan. If it's part of the plan and it gets us settled, I'm okay with it, but we need a comprehensive plan that's fair.
Any more questions? Audience?
Come on, I didn't get asked some of these questions. I took notes. Homeless shelter. Okay, I'm going to just go. Can I just go? No?
Nope.
Oh, come on. Somebody asked me about the road in Newhall.
Someone has
please.
to ask you a question.
Who's
You're going to have to be direct, Steve. Oh, okay. Next person.
Quick.
I
have a good answer on the road in Newhall.
I'm going to ask that.
Oh.
Okay. Recently in our area, there was a death of a homeless person.
Mm-hmm.
He was a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
That breaks my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I would really like to see more done for the vets that come home. They need jobs. They need services. And I'm not sure that, I have volunteered at Bridge to Home. I'm not sure if they have an outreach program for our veterans, but I do have a really strong, we need to do something for our vets so they don't die in the washes in the winter.
Right. Well, I absolutely support some programs such as the veterans job hiring programs that the city can promote, veterans housing. On the homeless issue, I think we absolutely need to not only feed and shelter them, but get them resources so that they have options. And I see I'm out of time.
Yeah, we're out of time on the 20.
Okay.
Okay, now for your wrap-up. Maria, please.
Okay. So I guess I'll wrap up by saying, again, I'm Maria Gutzeit, running for City Council this April 8th. I encourage you to look at my website, electmaria.com. I ask you to sit back, and as you hear all this, and I applaud all of you for coming multiple times, I bet you'll be here next month too, to hear more in-depth conversations, because we have a lot of forums with 13 people and we don't get to talk very much. You don't get to know much about us. And maybe through these forums, you might not even feel like you can get to a decision point. The city of Santa Clarita is a great city. We all know it. We love it. You're here tonight because we love it. The current people have done a great job getting us to where we are now. What I want you to do is sit back and think, with all the challenges that are going to come at this city for the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, what is it going to take for this community? Who can do that and respond to the challenges that we have? Who is best equipped to do it? More than the issues, who has the policy experience to deal with the city, the county, the state level people, who has the business experience with a Fortune 500 background, financial background, small business background where we write the checks. We know the employment issues. We have concerns about having skilled workers out here. We have concerns about how businesses are going to stay open. Which amongst the candidates has the broad experience necessary to lead us forward the next 20 years with all the challenges we're going to have? Environmental challenges, job challenges, economic challenges. Somebody has to solve those problems for us. I know a lot of people are willing, but ask yourself, who's going to be the best person to do that for this community? Who do you think has the skill set to do it? It's more than just a question on this or that topic, but who really can affect change for jobs and affect change for families. I should close by also saying nobody asked me a senior question. I was on the Senior Center board for 5 years, and we have elderly parents, and I think we can do a lot more for our seniors. The city only spends less than half of 1% of their budget on seniors, yet they're about 18% of our population. So you need people to balance these costs and be able to make changes in the areas that we're going to need going forward. And I think I have the balance of a business background, policy background, concern for jobs, and concern for the families that are going to benefit in this community, and I'd like to be your council person going forward. So please check out electmaria.com and vote on April 8th. Thank you.